For the down part, get a brown paper. Mark your hip line measurement. After you see my starting line, mark my starting line. Then I marked my hip line measurement. After marking my hip line, I extended the line. So here I marked my hip line measurement, which is 9 inches after division. Then I added 2 inches allowance. So I connect to the waist. You see that I'm marking out both my allowance and my main measurement. I'm marking it out because I wouldn't want my curve to get to my allowance, you get. So here I'm using my curve and I'm curving my this thing very well. So after that, I marked, you see that I extended my line by 1.5 inch after my hip line. That is where I want my curve to be. I don't want it to start at the hip line exactly. So I extended it by 1.5. After that, I cut. So after cutting, I pin it down a little bit so that it will not shift. So after pinning it down, I just use one pin. So now I want to also duplicate the measurement at the back. So I now have to mark out my exact waist and hip too at the other side of it, because I'll be opening this thing up. I don't want, if I open it up, I won't know where to stop and where my allowance starts. So that is why I'm trying to duplicate the line and at the other end of it too. So here is me curving it out. I'm cutting out the excess allowance I got. So here I open up the pattern. Yes, I'm done marking out everything. Now I opened up the pattern. Now for the curve, I came down from the other end of the waist. I came down by 3 inches. You see that I connected it straight as into my allowance. I connected it straight, and from that allowance, after the allowance, I now gave a curve. Then my curve stopped at the allowance, as at the main measurement of the other end, without it getting to the allowance. You also see it. My curve is small, so I tried to use my tape for it. Please note, I don't want this thing to affect my measure, as in to affect my clothes when I'm sewing. So I don't want to extend the curve to the allowance, to my body, to the allowance I added for my skirt. So what I did is that I started after the allowance is where I added my curve. The other end, you see that when I reached to the when I also got to the main measurement side, I draw it straight to my allowance without allowing the curve to get to it. Now is the time for me to cut. Please, after cutting, don't throw the two patterns. Don't throw any of the patterns. They are very necessary. The two patterns are still very important. I'll be using this one to cut out the Ankara. This will be the Ankara part of it. While the other part of the pattern will be the white pattern of it. Though I will extend it to get my skirt length, the length I want my skirt to be, which is a long skirt. So I will extend this part of the yes, I will extend this part of the brown paper to my gown length. Do you get? Then the other one will be the Ankara. So here now I want to mark my main skirt. So I'm using a white material for the down part of it. So this is a white of it actually. So here I'm marking my skirt. I'm marking it directly on the main material. So after I'm marking my skirt measurement. So I've marked my waist, my hip and my skirt length. Now I'm connecting. So after connecting, I cut. This is the front piece of my skirt actually. So I will still be marking the back piece. So after marking it out, I remove the excess. Now after marking it out, I open up this front piece in order for me to cut the Ankara part of it. So now I place the pattern I'll be using for the Ankara. Now I'm cutting. As in the Ankara part, that is what I'm cutting out. So after cutting it out, I bring out the back pattern of I want to cut the back piece of my skirt now. So now I've marked my my skirt length. I've brought out, first of all, brought out 1 inch for my zip. Now I'm marking my other body measurement. This is my front, my starting line. So I've marked my waist, adding my allowance, my hip line, which is 8.5. Then I'm imputing my hip measurement, which is 9.2, with my 2 inches sewing allowance. So now I'm extending my line, connecting the curves together. So after connecting the curves together, now is the time for me to extend my line to the gown length. So I've extended the line. I'm also connecting too. So after that, I will do my under bottom. This is my under bottom. At the hip line, I came out by 1, then took everything at the waistline, then connect it to my under bottom. Then I used to measure it, but for this person, I'm using 16 inches as her under bottom. So now I've connected it. So now is the time for me to I'm checking out my allowances. I'm cross checking my allowances and my measurement. So after cutting, now is the time for me to cut out my pattern for the back. So I will place this I will place the pattern for the back. I will fold it into two, as in then I'll place it after the zip measurements and cut. You know that for the back pattern it will be in two pieces because of the zip at the back. So I'm cutting the other part of the pattern, back pattern. That is what I'm cutting. I want to cut now. Remember, please don't cut in a slanty way at the zipper allowance. You cut straight. You see how I'm cutting it. So I'm cutting. So now I'm cutting the Ankara part. So I placed that my the white, as in the pattern that I cut out from the skirt, that's pattern that I cut out for the back. This is it. I place it on Ankara to cut exactly because I'll be joining it. So after cutting this one, I will still have to cut both the other part of the back piece. Please, I added 1 inch at the joining area, the place I'll be joining to the white part. So I added 1 inch at the other ones. Every other place is the same. So here I'm cutting the other part of the back piece. You can also use your pattern paper to cut this. It all depends on you, what you want. Do you get? So I will bring out my skirt part, the remaining part after cutting out my Ankara part. So I will now mark out 3 inches depending on how you want it. You can make yours 2 or 1 inch depending on how full. So I'm trying to manage my fringes. So I'll mark out 3 inches to the full length. So after marking to the full length, I will be sewing the fringes on the whole lines to the full length. So I'm using 3 pack of these fringes for this dress. This is how I'm placing it. I will sew on top of it and do it. I will do it on all the lines, sewing on top of it. So here is my end result after joining the whole piece together. If you have watched to this extent and you like tutorials like this, please kindly subscribe, like, comment and share my video. See you in my next video. Bye.